Right, so what Spirit wants you to know today. So in your energy, okay, it's going to happen soon, so get excited. This is what Spirit wants the energy you to be in, or something's already happening and you are getting excited. But if not, do get excited. When I clarified this with another deck, the angel deck, which is here, this flew out on top of it, which is career transition. So it could have something to do with a career. It doesn't have to. It could just, it could be other interests that you're pursuing, anything. But for some of you, it is a career transition, and perhaps something to do with spirituality, because down here we've got alchemist, shaman energy. And when I clarified that, we got goddess, psychic, sacred and proud, and that landed on there. And it says here you can trust your intuition, and that you have a lot of light. And people are bothered by that if they can't, they haven't addressed their own light, and you don't need anyone but Holy Spirit, God, and the angels. So this makes me feel like whatever transition or this exciting news is, it's either spiritually based or Spirit is gifting you it. And you could be just getting more gifts from Spirit in terms of spirituality. You become more psychic, more healing, and so forth. I'll move these to the side just since I've addressed those. The other energy in your energy field, and peace flew out on top of here. Yeah, so basically you've got some other energies in your energy field that you return their energy back to sender, and this happened because you found your own self-worth. Where did I see that card? Here. And it's very likely that these people had some resentment building up towards you. You could, more than likely, you have strong intuition going by these cards. If not, you have spiritual gifts. You're very tapped in, more than likely, and you're intelligent, you're beautiful, you work with the divine, and this light that you emanate was causing issues with those around you. People who haven't found their own light, and despised you for being in contact with yours, and possibly being humble about it. So you found your self-respect. You moved away from these people that were possibly throwing shade towards your light because they couldn't stand your light. It was blinding them for some of them. But now they see you, and it's too late. They see that you were possibly just you were hanging around this energy, or holding on to this energy, not out of weakness or desperation or anything like that. It was because you loved them. And it's not, for some of you, you may very well just not love them anymore, but for the majority of you, I can imagine that you possibly do, but you chose to love yourself more, and call finality to this. And this is your present energy right now. That you can't be around energy like this. It's contaminating your clean water. That's just an analogy, but take it where it fits. So yeah, these energies are annoyed. They just genuinely believed you weren't secure in yourself, and I think for the most part you were, but you were humble and giving and kind, and those things just were misinterpreted. They were misinterpreting that energy. And now I believe they can see it, that you never were those things that they were sort of hoping you were, which is bothering them, because in fact I'm being brought here furious, but that doesn't belong to be. I have to go where Spirit leads me. So for some of them, they're actually furious, and we've got annoyed out here. So it's just a lesson that they've got to learn, like that looks can be deceiving, and if it's not looks, not to just assume that kindness and giving energy and loving energy is something to take advantage of, or something that's coming from weakness. I suspect you're possibly stronger than a lot of these people, and the strongest people going aren't the ones that don't cry, aren't the ones that are got loads of muscles. They're the ones that do the necessary work and then move on, and and interpret those lessons intuitively and get stronger. And I believe I'm tapping into someone like that today. Your spirit team, it says here you were innocent and your spirit team are furious. I think your spirit, I mean, they could well be furious, but I think it is more, now you're out the way, they're just letting these people know exactly what went down, and that they were seen. You saw it, and of course God and the angels saw it, and it's not a case of your spirit team are getting them back. I mean, I know some people have those sorts of beliefs, but it's just so they can learn where they went wrong here, so they don't repeat it, and that's up to them if they do. We all have to go through lessons, you know, karmic lessons, to get closer to ourselves, and your spirit team in particular want them to learn this lesson, and they're probably annoyed and furious that they have to, and they might be projecting that onto you because they don't want to learn the lesson. I just got an image of a child, you know, that they don't want to eat the good food, they want to eat the sweets. It's that kind of energy. But they do need to eat the healthy food to keep themselves healthy, and this will help them in the long run. It says that yours twin flame, and again, it doesn't have to be twin flame. High level soulmates, situationship, you put it where it fits. But they're considering begging you. This is then the energy they're in today, or right now when you tap into this reading. I'm hearing they're furious too, so they're part of that energy situation too, because they didn't know that you were going to find your worth. I don't think it was a case that you never knew your worth. I think you weren't standing up for yourself, because we've got the 9 of Wands here, which is sort of like protecting yourself, you know, being on guard. Perhaps you had your guards down, and it looks like you didn't know yourself. Well, you did. You just were too trusting with energies that actually despised you and had some resentment. And if it's not that strong, they struggled with your energy, okay? But just put it where it fits. But all that energy's been returned back to sender. And like I said before, it does say your spirit seems furious, and I think they're just sending that energy back. That energy is going back to them. We do have a card out here that says, the next time somebody does throw shade at you, you know, some little dig, some undermining thing, I don't think I'm tapping into somebody that does this, but Spirit's suggesting, and only if you want to, you don't have to, because you know, it might not chime for you at all, but try to just say the same thing directly back at them, you know, like not with any heat or anything like that, just whatever they said, just say it back, just as an experiment. It's not to get them back, it's just so they can be aware of what they've said, or, you know, I don't know, Spirit's brought it out. You don't have to. Maybe it would be healthy for you to realize you can, you know, like, you don't have to just absorb things like a sponge. For the most part, I think most of you have just moved your energy away. You know, you don't get malicious or anything. But maybe, you know, maybe it'll be fun just to sort of see the look on their face when you're like, you know, I know what you're doing, so I'm going to say it back to you. How does it feel? How does it feel? Where do you want me to go, Spirit? Okay, so I'll go here. Yeah, but you found peace by guarding yourself, and that's brought you that's helped you tap into your self-worth. But yeah, these people have seen you too late. But that it was all set up that way. It was set up that way, you know, like Spirit probably veiled you to some degree so they could get the karma that they deserve. You know, you're not supposed to go around taking advantage of people. I replay our conversations over and over again. That's come out 3 days running. So somebody's really, particularly your twin flame, I think. But I think it could be other energies. You know, maybe people, perhaps now you've left or you've closed the door or set these boundaries, people can't help but think about, I'm hearing the last few things they've said to you, or they're ruminating, like, what was it? What was the final straw? And I don't really feel like that's your energy. I just saw peace flash out. So, okay, tell me more about that, please, Spirit. Yeah, these people are annoyed and they're angry. That's why I was brought to this furious, because I can see revenge here. And yeah, they're annoyed you've got away. Some of these energies were obsessed with you, and I'm hearing also friendships. The twin flame is that, and or high level soulmate, whatever it is. But there's other energies that aren't. It's your light. It's because you're but they don't know why. You know, they don't know why. But unfortunately, they are in this energy. But it's because they've got to learn a lesson they don't want to. Tell me more about that, please, spirits. Yeah, because they're struggling, okay? They're drowning. They don't want to be in the pain that they are. They know you're becoming a better person. And it's not like you're ever a bad person, if that, so if that's such a thing. You're just tapping into yourself more. And these people did love you. And it says they loved you unconditionally. So it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt when that door closes. But they also very aware why that door closed. But they just didn't believe that you would close it. But there's a weird mix of energy here. It's not just, yeah, I mean, I feel like you've got some energies in your energy field that feel a bit romantic towards you, and they shouldn't. Not that they shouldn't, you're allowed to, but that, like that's not what you how you saw it. They're also upset about your spirituality. I think maybe they know about your intuition or psychic, like they know about this. That's another thing that they find. It's a shame because there's no, no one, it's insecurity, and it's, I hope they learn their way so they can get away from this energy that they're consuming, because it's unnecessary. God made them. They don't need to envy anyone else's light. They have their own light. The divine made them. Yeah, so they're presently talking. I mean, tell me more about it, Spirit. What are they doing? Please allow the messages to fly out on the table, so I can help the collective with I'm seeing karma, so I can help the collective with their journey. Can you please allow them to fall out onto the, I was going to say the floor, the table, please? Okay, so they could just be gossiping, okay? Because we've got talking here, gossiping, and they might think that's justice. And that's their revenge, perhaps, not being not being the friend that they might have been when you were in their energy, or something like that. But, people, you can't control what people do or think or say, but they're not illuminated. It's upside down to the truth. They're just trying to get through the energies that they're feeling. And some of them did feel romantic towards you, some of these energies. Or there is, and they might not even know that or something. What was that? I think I've lost it already, so it wasn't meant to happen. They're very hurt. They're very, very hurt. I'm not sure why Spirit's letting you know. I don't think, for the most part of you, I don't think. Maybe it's because now you've moved away properly. You did get away, and Spirit is sort of showing them in their face. Possibly that they're toxic, their own toxic energy. They have to put that somewhere. They don't want to look at it, so they're then putting it on you. you know, gossiping about you, what you've done wrong, what you know, where your shortcomings are, or, you know, something like that. And maybe the more you're healing, the more they're clinging, and I think they're just very uncomfortable. But this does, I'd imagine your twin flame, high level soulmate energy, I'm being brought here, and they're just insecure people, but that, you know, hopefully in their journey that will change. No one's perfect. No one, you know, like, but they didn't want you to leave. I think they feel lost because they know that even if they chased you, we've got divine masculine upside down. Maybe they're talking about your spiritual connection. If you told these people about a twin flame or soulmate, or that you believed in this kind of thing, I think they might be gossiping about that. But I really get this decision like it's making them feel better, like they're seeing it as healing. So, you know, allow them to do what they need to do. Like, they need to put it somewhere. Yeah, it's causing them adrenaline. They'll get out of, you know, this will move for them. They're just angry and hurt and annoyed that they miss you. Yeah, and they're shocked. Tell me about this, please, Spirit. I think your divine masculine, who's not a divine masculine because it came upside down, who does want union with you, is obsessed about the possibility that you are dating someone, you know, someone else, and that they're not even a memory to you. Yeah, because they couldn't trap you. We've got proposal here, what a surprise. And we've got coffee date here, what a surprise. Yeah, I think they think you're dating. I mean, you could be dating someone, but they're obsessed with this idea. They're obsessed about it more because they now see you, which is you are their muse. You were, you know, if you're their twin flame, you're their twin flame. There's a divine connection, something they were possibly denying. But now you've stepped into, I still don't feel like you only just stepped into your self-worth, but it's like now you realize you don't need to hang around energies that bring you down. I think before you thought, not that you had to, but that you loved them, so you did, and now you're like, yeah, I love you, but I don't want to, you know, I don't want to do that. Your energy frequency is different, and they're bothered about that energy frequency, someone else receiving it. Yeah, they didn't have much foresight. They didn't have foresight about your spiritual nature, or the spiritual nature of life and this connection. And they didn't, yeah, they're worried about you going to meet a soulmate. If you're, you know, if it was a twin flame, or if it was a soulmate, that you're meeting another soulmate, because they know it's final for you. You've chosen, you're guarding your peace. That's why the 9 of Wands is here. That's what you're guarding. Spirit's guarding it for you. And you've got to an energy where now you don't even care about low vibrational gossip, or, I mean, people say what they want, you know, and half the time people, you know, if they're disparaging or trying to, it's just it's self-regulation. It's not anything to do with you, really. Although you might be the subject. Okay, yeah, so this person loves you. What's underneath that? But they don't have faith. It's upside down. So perhaps this person isn't very spiritual, since spirit and faith has come upside down. But also I think they didn't have the foresight to understand that you would choose spirit and faith over this love. They just did not have that foresight. And possibly these people didn't either. I wouldn't be surprised if you said something about, I don't know, if you had a spiritual awakening, or, you know, something of that, and they genuinely thought that meant you'd be even more susceptible, naive in their eyes. I don't think you ever were. You for the most part, it was just these people because you loved them, whether it's family, friends, you know, whatever. Tell me more, please, Spirit, for the highest good of all, in God's will. Please allow the messages to fly onto the table. Yeah, it says completely done upside down. I'm sorry, upright. But they wish it wasn't completely done. And they know that you haven't made the wrong decision. That's why that's upside down. Because you see them as immature. And maybe that's what they're struggling with. Like that they have to sort of reassess their character or something. But this could be just a case of frequency. You know, what's immature to one person is a complete hoot to someone else. You know, like, you know, some people are bookworms and that's their energy, and then there's some people who like comics, and one's not better than, you know what I mean, like, I know, like, when people are hurting, you know, it's easy to go into these binary situations, like they're bad, they're evil, I'm good, I'm right, and allow yourself to do that if you're healing. You know, like at the beginning stages, you know, you need to sort it out, and maybe that's what's going on over here, or even with the twin flame, but then some grey area has to come in eventually, because life isn't just black and white. It's there's grey area, but essentially your healing is triggering these energies, and they're feeling hopeless, and they're struggling with that. They didn't have the foresight that you were going to escape and choose faith, choose spirit, choose yourself, choose confidence. Because we did have confidence card down here, and there's confidence written on there. I'm going to do one more from this deck, Spirit, and then I'm going to move. Twin flames upside down. The divine masculine was upside down. I should move that so you can see it. Can you see it? Yeah, I think you can anyway. I just find it so amazing sometimes how they drop, how they land. I'm like, Spirit, it's so clever. Of course you are. You're divine. Yeah. So, yeah, you're not going to choose somebody who doesn't want to follow the twin flame journey, or high level soulmate journey, or being up, you know, not being divine over spirit and faith. Your divine spirit and divine faith, you're not going to choose that. But they didn't have that foresight. Yeah, the foundation landed funny, like this. That's what it would be like. You'd be building a foundation on something like this, which, you know, eventually it will tip or break. You need to set your foundation on something solid, and your foundation is choosing your peace, your healing, guarding yourself, not being around insecure energies, not being around energies that don't want to choose the divine, or you know, if that's too strong a word for you, healing. Yeah, healing, choosing yourself, you know, willing and wanting to get better. You know, nobody's perfect. We're all human. We all have different lessons, you know, but it's a willingness. Yeah, butterflies here. Yeah, so you wanted a different, you wanted a better foundation for your butterfly self, and your foundation is the beautiful garden, a spiritual garden of flowers, not potholes and dry soil. And, you know, like, I think that's kind of energy you were in for a long time, and you were trying to plant seeds in there and they weren't growing, and people were then digging up the seeds just in case, and, you know, like, and spirit showed you a different way. But now these people are in their breaking point, particularly the twin flame, I'm feeling, because they can't compete with the divine. The only way they're going to compete with the divine is to become divine themselves. They are divine. Everyone's divine, but it's about what you choose, you know, like, and I'm not saying that I'm tapping into somebody and you've got to be like Mother Mary or Jesus, you know, like you've never made a mistake, or you'll never make a mistake, you know, it's unlikely. But it's about choosing and willing, you know, like, to grow and get better. And there's some energies that, you know, they don't want to, and that's fine too. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that. Just like there's nothing wrong with choosing to read comics. but you need more depth. Your spiritual journey has more growth than that. You need a different soil. I have to use analogies to try to get the language out, but I also I'm very cautious about tipping it so it makes it look like, you know, villain evil and saint good, you know, like words break down ultimately, because so, you know, things do end up going into those binary energies, but hopefully I'm making sense. And that's not to dismiss anybody that's gone through abuse and all those horrible things that, you know, very likely you've had to endure. It's not to make it all nice and pretend it was all, you know, great because you learned something. It's not that either, but the human experience is, it's a complicated situation, and it's, you know, it's often polarized, and there's complexities and there's contradictions, and it's not some neat situation, but ultimately God did make everybody and no one's better than anyone else. Yeah, so they wanted you without boundaries, of course they did, but you've shed that skin where you'll always have boundaries now. Like, your boundaries might be very high right now. I'm feeling like, you know, like iron walls around that garden with the butterflies, like no one can come in. Like, you might be on that kind of level of energy until you start, you know, like until you've had enough time with yourself and spirit and the divine and healing and trusting your intuition and working with your angels and ancestors, and then you'll start thinking, you know, who am I to let in? And that's not to say, well, no one deserves my energy, you know, like my energy is just so precious. I'm an alchemist, I have light. It's not that. It's more like you're learning what it is that's going to be nourishing for you. Not a case of like, I'm just going to be alone because no one matches me. You've learned some energies that don't match your frequency, and that's spirit wanted you to do that. And I think eventually you'll start learning to not trust, maybe it is trust again, trust your own intuition, what's going to be good for you. And you know how to assert those boundaries. Tell me more about that, please, Spirit. I think that's you. You're not available. You're not available because you're healing. Yeah, and these energies are heartbroken. Yeah, so I think you found these energies emotionally immature, and again, if it's not immature, it's just not your frequency. Yeah, this person doesn't want to let you go. It's interesting. I think there was a time that they weren't available, or these energies were giving you energies like that. You know, maybe these energies were giving you that kind of energy. That's why it came through. Like, I don't know, if I can fit you in, let me see, like, I'm busy, you know, maybe that kind of energy. Or worse than that, they didn't even let you know that they're busy. You just have to wait for them, and they made you feel not included or something. And I don't think you're doing it tit for tat. I think you're literally like, I'm saving my energy, I'm regulating my nervous system, I'm looking after myself, I'm choosing myself first, so I'm not available. Not to sort of be like, let me make my ego feel better. You're not doing it for that. You're literally, you're nourishing your nervous system that took a dive because they were digging up your seeds and giving you soil that you couldn't grow flowers, and you need to grow flowers because you're a butterfly. Obviously, take that where that fits. And I know some people are like, I don't like these pretty analogies, but just translate them into something that sounds good for you. What do we have here? Yeah, so tell me more about that, please, Spirit. Yeah, you've lost patience with these energies, and I genuinely don't think you're, it says, I don't think you're attracted to them, and I don't think, obviously, put that where that fits. I don't think it's a case of what they look like or what they have or haven't got. It's just your frequency is different. You're looking for different flowers. I don't think these were more, you know, they couldn't fit, the butterfly's not interested in those sorts of flowers anymore. if there were any flowers, and I feel like there wasn't. Yeah, so this person's, there's a lot of things that are reminding them of you. Yeah, I don't think it's just a twin flame or high-level soulmate that's feeling this. I wish I could take back my words, because at the beginning of the reading, I could really feel sort of like they're thinking about the last things they've said, or, you know, what was the final straw. And maybe it wasn't something they said, maybe it was how they behaved, how they acted, they went silent, I don't know, whatever it was, that they're wishing they could take that bit back. But it's neither here nor there. You would have eventually come to the conclusion that you did, which is that you needed to put up these boundaries so you could heal, rather than putting your nervous system where it's getting assaulted, energetically, of course. And I just don't feel like you could, like, and spirit didn't want you to do it anymore. This person feels like they hid who they really were from you, and I think they were hiding their feelings and their vulnerable self, what's under the ego, what's under, you know, like, they didn't really let you see that very much. But I think for most of you, because we've got quite a lot of spiritual cards out here, and I'm being brought here, intuition, you knew who they were underneath. That's why you were staying around, but you just got fed up of the costume on top, which had the sword, and they were just using their sword, pretending, or actually slicing you in, like, energetically. And I think you got fed up of going, like, when are you going to take this costume off with the swords? You know, like, I know who you are, I can see your divine self. And you just got fed up, and you're like, I'm not going anywhere, they're wearing costumes. So although they might feel like they hid who they really were from you, the only reason you were staying around in the beginning is because you could see who they really were underneath this costume, this persona, this mask. Yeah, they wish they treated you better. Well, of course they would. What's that saying? Yeah, because these people have to reflect now, but they didn't want to. And that's where that sort of anger and revenge sort of energy is coming from. But I feel like that will die down. I feel like it will die down. They're just working it out, you know, because they've lost something they love, and so did you. But you have the divine. You're working with the divine, so it might be slightly different for you. I did see the lovers flashing before. Yeah, so I do think this is involving friendships as well, or family, or something. But these people want to heal this situation with you, and who knows? Some of you might, after you've those iron boundaries, you know, the walls might not be so high. Yeah, they don't want you to move on, but they do know it's justice, but they feel like it's unfair. Like, in their eyes it isn't justice, because it feels so unfair that you've put these guards up, this big iron wall. It's like, I feel like it's like iron wall garden. Yeah, and you've chose healing. Yeah, they want to come in with a little offer. Sometimes when I tap into the energy, I feel sorry for them. And it's not like feel sorry, like, oh, pity. Like, I don't mean like that. It's like yeah, because they're drowning. They didn't want to lose you. They loved you. These people loved you. Or love you. And I think you love them. So if you can, say a prayer for them. You know, I'm sure you don't wish them bad. You know, you want them to find what's meaningful for them. And you're finding what's meaningful for you. And can you more, please, Spirit? The highest. Oh gosh, I better stop. Yeah, you've released this, and it was because it was bringing you conflict, and you couldn't step into your Emperor status. And maybe you were right, like, maybe it was tell me more about that card, please. They liked you having problems and stuff like that. Like, that's what they wanted to hear about. They didn't want to hear any good news. Like, it's you know, it's low vibrational. But you were always hopeful, even when you were going through the problems. But you're the... I saw Emperor upside down. So this could very well could be your divine masculine who wanted you to be upside, you know, they wanted you to be an upside down Empress and then be an upside down Emperor, and you have an unconventional relationship, possibly third parties involved in it, which would have brought you severe unhappiness. And you've decided to lose that, you know, lose that opportunity that they were offering, basically, and put it where it fits. But you didn't want that. Yeah, and they're resentful now. Although I do think they want to act like they're working on something. I better stop. Let me stop. Thank you for being here. And Archangel Michael, please protect myself and please protect the collective. So mote it be.